descend, but this time in triplets, trying to keep as much of the yawn in place as possible. Now as a warm-up, think first about yawning as you inhale.
Remember that helps that yawn form as we push out that belly, so now the throat muscles are open and more prepared. Now as I sing the motorboat,
I want to have you do triplets down, which is yet another musical pattern, but this time it's going to sound like this. Listen first. I want but with the motorboat. Just a little bit longer passage. We're descending, but we're going back up and down again, kind of almost in a zigzag pattern. It works a different part of the brain. It makes the voice and the tongue work a little bit differently. The more open my throat stays, the more that yawn stays in place, the stronger my stomach muscles get, especially as I'm descending, where the throat typically wants to close as I start getting lower in my range. Notice how much easier the vowel oo might be than the other vowel sounds. When you can finally go up and down in your entire range with that much yawn on the oo, only first. Then, and only then, go back to the beginning and pick up the different vowel sounds. For example, oo to o. Back down low, yawn as you inhale. Whoa. Tone came forward, larynx popped up. You could hear it, couldn't you? You could almost feel it in your body when my body did that. So, moving from oo to o to oo, notice what must be added to keep that yawn in place. Try it again. Whoa. Did you do it more successfully that time? When the throat is fully yawned, on the open O, then back to the oo, notice how much more wind it required. When I started singing with different vowel sounds other than the oo, I was running out of breath so much more quickly. I felt like I was going backwards in my progress. Why can I not sustain a long tone? But then it dawned on me. My mouth is as open as I want my throat to be. It just requires more wind, which again requires a stronger core.
So to practice now in a more practical application,
putting this kind of openness physically into a song, we're going to be working with the song Sweet, Sweet Dreams. Those E vowels sometimes are as easy as the oo to keep that open throat, to keep that yawn in place. So let me sing through the song for you first, then we'll do it together with a few exercises, then on different notes, different keys, then finally with the words by themselves. Listen first. Sweet, sweet dreams, sweet, sweet dreams, just on the other side of night, dream of precious peace. So with the yawn, it will sound overtly woofy, a little operatic, a little overtly deep, and that's okay for practice. That's exactly where we want to be. If you're concerned about it or ever wondering, you might want to check with your fingertips on your larynx just to see how deep that goes and how open that yawn really is. Let's try to sing that song right where we were,
but this time with as much yawn. And every breath we take, remember to add the yawn into that puffed out belly as we inhale.
Ready? We're going to start right here.
Sweet, sweet dreams. I know it sounds silly. Sweet, sweet dreams. Just on the other side of night. Dream of precious peace.
Now, believe it or not, when I sing side of night, that ah made my throat muscles want to go up, and I had to really work from the inside out to keep that yawn in place. Let's do it again. Just up a step, ready, yawn as you inhale.
Sweet, sweet dreams. Sweet, sweet dreams. Notice where it's vibrating. Just on the other side of night. Dream of precious peace.
Now, we haven't even talked yet about placement, but notice with the yawn, especially with that song with those E vowels yawned, notice where the yawned E goes.
Sweet.
It's kind of in that open throat. And if I'm sideways,
Sweet.
you can almost see it's in the back of my head. I mean, that's at least where I'm feeling it. So put your fingertips right on the back of your neck. Take that yawned inhale breath again.
And sing that first word. Sweet.
It might be subtle, but can you feel with your fingertips the vibration on the back of your neck? When we are opened and yawned, the vibration of the voice naturally falls into that open throat, and we can almost kind of feel it behind us. And that's exactly what we're going for practice in private. Even when you're singing with trios or with your choir, and you can over-exaggerate that yawn for a couple of times through the song. Then you sing it for real without thinking about the yawn, without thinking about the breath or the contraction of the waistline muscles. All of those elements start to work for you just because you've been practicing with the over-exaggeration of all of these processes. Now let's take it a little bit higher yet. Now remember to yawn like crazy.
Sweet, sweet dreams.
Yawn as you inhale.
Sweet, sweet dreams. Just on the other side of night. Dream of precious peace.
Notice how the word just, because of the open mouth, wants to take up so much more wind in order to keep that yawn fully open in the throat. Now let's try it just a little higher yet. Ready? Yawn as you inhale.
Sweet, sweet dreams. Sweet, sweet dreams. Just on the other side of night. Dream of precious peace.
Good. Now don't think about any of that stuff and just sing. And notice what happens. Listen and feel the vowel sounds. Notice where they want to resonate, where they might be resonating a little bit differently. Notice what you're feeling in your throat and or head. And notice how much more easily you're breathing. Right where we stopped, just sing it for real and don't think about any of that stuff, but just pay attention to how you feel. Ready? Sweet, sweet dreams. Sweet, sweet dreams. Just on the other side of night. Dream of precious precious peace. Notice a few things as I was singing that. Just on the other side of night. I had to take a breath somewhere because of the word just taking up so much of my wind. I don't want to breathe between other and side, but if I take a very quick breath between the word side and of night, I can get away with it as long as the breath comes from here and as long as my forward motion of vocals continue. Listen, this is a little bit of a different technique. Just on the other side of night. Notice how different that sounds than just on the other side of night. I stop and start the sentence, as opposed to just on the other side of night. That little catch breath. I'm almost leaning into the line that helps perpetuate that forward motion and doesn't quite sound as an abrupt a break as taking a big breath. So try that with me again. Let's try it just a little bit lower. Sweet, let's start it down here. And notice how it feels and sounds. Notice all the different vowel sounds, where they want to resonate without the yawn. And just kind of pay attention to how the voice feels down here. Ready? Sweet, sweet dreams. Sweet, sweet dreams. Just on the other side of night. Dream of precious peace. Now, one more technique. When you're starting to sing up higher than your brain thinks you can, watch a couple of things that want to happen. Unnaturally, but pretty normally, the throat might want to tighten, but throughout that open yawn, that's less and less possible. Secondly, most of us typically want to follow the tone up with our nose. And what that physically does is to put a kink in that pipeline. You can see where my head is back and my neck is now kinked. Whereas if I think about singing kind of over my glasses at you, notice how straight up and down that neck stays. It's a clean, clear pipeline of sound availability, like this. As opposed to, and the voice gets stuck because the neck is kinked. So when I'm singing, just on the other side of night, dream of precious peace. Just having my head elongate from up here. I'm not thinking about dropping my nose, but elongating the top of my head helps that pipeline stay open and then helps the vibration stay in the back. And then the higher notes can start to feel like they're coming out of my eyeballs. We'll talk about that more in the next couple of videos. But for right now, let's practice Sweet Dreams one more time, but this time a little bit lower, and notice what difference you feel from one key to the next. Is it easier to sing with an open throat up in the higher range for you, or is it easier to keep the throat open in the lower range? The idea, of course, is to get comfortable wherever that throat is more availably open. Then, to keep that open throat and take it with you into different ranges of your voice, which may be a little bit tighter with the throat. So find where it's easiest to yawn, and then take that open throat, that yawn, up and down with you as you can, as your strength builds. So one more time, a little bit lower. Sweet, sweet, ready. Sweet, sweet dreams. Sweet, sweet dreams. Just on the other side of night, dream of precious peace. Now once more, let's start just a little bit higher. This time in that lullaby voice, as soft as you possibly can, by adding more breath, not by taking it away. Are you ready? Sweet, sweet dreams. Sweet, sweet dreams. Just on the other side of night, dream of precious peace. More wind, even more quietly. Sweet, sweet dreams. Sweet, sweet dreams. Just on the other side of night, dream of precious peace. Cup your ear. Do it one more time. Draw your ear a little towards you and listen to your own soft sound. Ready? Sweet, sweet dreams. Sweet, sweet dreams. Just on the other side of night, dream of precious peace. Notice that when you were pushing more wind through to make the voice quieter by adding more breath, how the throat stayed open or not. Did your throat want to close to help you sing softer, like that tight-throated whisper? Consistently check yourself. Notice how low or not the larynx is. Notice how much breath you're pushing out or not. I think you've had enough now, but for the next 2 weeks, consistently practice the yawn, even more so than you did the last couple of weeks, and use that half-step climbing ooh exercise as often as you can, keeping your fingertips lightly on your larynx, and remembering every single time you inhale and puff the tummy out,
to yawn at the same time.
Notice under the fingers where that larynx drops to. Then keep that throat open as you sing on whatever vowel you're singing. Then forget about all that stuff and just sing. And notice how much more openness you have in your throat. Notice how relaxed your throat becomes. And at the same time, notice how many more of those waistline muscles are kicking in and starting to be engaged and are gaining more and more strength. I will see you next for the 5th video, where we talk about getting the tongue the heck out of the way. But for now, sing beautifully from the core with a much more open throat.